Welcome to Studio Sessions. I'm Will Donovan, and alongside,
I'm Julie Hamer.
And we're here to spark your creative journey and help you build the studio of your dreams. And each of these episodes, we're going to dive into expert tips, real talk, and actionable insights that support potters like you in launching and growing your own creative spaces. So let's fire up the kilns and let's get started.
Hello and welcome in everyone to another episode of Studio Sessions. How are you doing today, Will?
I'm to be honest, I'm a little flustered today, but I'm so excited to be here. It's been a really wonderful day. And now I'm not so flustered.
Good. Well, I've gotten about 5 hours of sleep, and I'm going to pretend like I'm drinking water, but I really have a giant Red Bull next to me.
Sometimes we just have to be practical about our days, and that's what today's episode is kind of about, being practical and resourceful with what we've got, even if it's not energy or supplies or materials. It is.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. And we were talking a little bit about this before we started, before we hit record. It's been so difficult lately to get certain materials of the same either quality from the same resources or just getting them in general. And when we say like resources, materials, this can be anything from the clay bodies that we're used to, the glazes that we're used to, and of course anything that changes in the environment where all these bigger mines are getting the ingredients from, the dry ingredients from where we make the clay and make the glazes. It affects everything. It just kind of funnels down into what are we going to do?
Yeah, it's like trickle down economics, but for potters.
Yes, absolutely. I was just telling a family member yesterday how much I miss Little Loafers clay.
Oh, yeah. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Little Loafers.
Force them out for high water.
Oh, I know. My heart still aches. I really am I have a little bit of Little Loafers left. Just a little Loafers.
Little loafers?
Just a little loafers. And I was using it on the wheel, and I'm like, I don't even need to add water from my bucket because my tears will be more than enough.
It had a good life. It ended too soon.
Too young. Hope they come back though. And that's the thing, we don't know.
Well, I think we do. They made an announcement maybe a week or two ago that officially not coming back.
Oh no. I was kind of hopeful. I'm like, what? They're going to get machines in the next few, maybe months, year, less? No?
No, I don't think so. I think there's been some, if you keep your ear to the ground in the Carolina clay area, I think there's some like movements of people trying to fill the gap, but who knows how long it's going to be before somebody can fill the quite large size gap that high water filled. We'll see.
I think that also, in a way though, pushes us as potters to find alternatives. And I know people have been coming to me, asking me what I'm going to do. And I've been, first of all, my first initiative with, panic. Try not to panic. No, I'm kidding. But I was like, well, I have really two options here. I can find an alternative clay body that I like using for whatever I use it for. And that looks different for everyone in their studios. And I can test, of course, always test. You can test your glazes, homemade or whether you get them from a company or you make them yourself. Yeah. Or it can look like you experimenting and making your own clay bodies.
Sure. Either way. It's definitely an opportunity to be able to make your own if you have that skill set and background. But I imagine probably most people will try to outsource to a new clay body.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's been difficult too because a lot of the companies are reformulating their clay bodies depending on what type of raw materials they can get. So sourcing as kaolin, we may not, like EPK for a little while. There was a shortage of EPK, and one of the clays I like to use from Kentucky Mudworks, they made an announcement like, hey, we're using a different type of kaolin, and I noticed the change, and it changed the firing. I had to change my firing schedule around because it would bloat if I fired it too quickly, even just at like cone 5, even though it used to be cone 5, cone 6. And now they have gone back to the original formula, which is great.
That's nice.
And it didn't affect the glazes that I use at all, but it did affect the way that I have to fire the clay body.
Sure.
So all of that is important. And for us, we're like, oh, okay, you know, those of us who are a little more, I say us, like you and I, little more seasoned potters, but those who are like, well, wait a minute, I really love this clay body. And it's either no longer there or it's giving me issues. You know, what do you do? But what I do, I don't know. I'll obviously, I'll ask you to what you do. But, what I usually do in this situation, of course, is, well, number one, like I said, look for different clay bodies, but then test everything. Um, but you have some clay bodies that you were using in the studio that I think you can no longer have access, or you no longer have access to, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I think another part of the high water puzzle / ripple effect, butterfly effect, is that yes, you have to look at other clay companies to be able to source the clays that you want, but so is everybody else. And so a lot of the clays that people were turning to as replacements are becoming harder to source just because there's higher demand. And so, especially one thing that we're seeing through Clay King is that the companies that we're turning to replace the clays that were lost are now quickly going because everybody's getting them. And so that makes longer production times for the clays. Like, for example, we used in the studio Sheltoe from Kentucky Mudworks. And it's been a few months since we've been able to get that in stock. So I'm trying to fill the gaps with other clays. And it's been a fun process. We've gotten to try things that I wouldn't normally have tried. It's kind of pushed us out of an area. And I've been experimenting with some of the mammoth clays that have been brought in. And so we're kind of seeing like, this is how far out we have to go to source the materials, is as far up as Pennsylvania to get standard, or Laguna from Ohio, or Mammoth in Oklahoma, or Kentucky for Kentucky Mudworks. We're missing like that link in the chain that was high water, but there are benefits. It forces us to iterate. It makes us get better, I think, through that process, and it keeps us on our toes. It makes the pots look fresh in some way.
yeah, that's true. And you might find something new too that you wouldn't consider trying before, like the mammoth clays. I really like the mammoth clays. I've really been enjoying it, experimenting with the different, with throwing and hand building with them, and just seeing how glazes react to them as well.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't used. Well, I've tested all of them that have come in, but I haven't adopted many. I've been working with Monarch, which is like a darker, grittier stoneware. I would say it's like a cross between like what speckled brownstone used to be and like a Riverside grit, which two high water clays, if you're familiar, were kind of like brown, speckly, but also a little gritty, groggy. And for our like just the Donovan Pottery medieval collection that we're working on, like it fits really well. And then it's been a while, but still using a lot of porcelain kind of alternatively, other end of the spectrum.
I really like the Mammoth Cumulus porcelain. It works really well with crystalline glazes.
Good to know.
Okay. Yeah, it was a very happy surprise when I pulled something out of the kiln, and I was like, ooh, maybe I start using this, because it throws really well, but it doesn't throw like, some people are afraid to use porcelain, I think, because of how it can kind of feel like throwing with butter.
Sure.
But Cumulus throws like just a smooth stoneware clay.
Yeah. I mean, porcelain gets a pretty hard reputation for being challenging to work with. And I think a lot of people avoid it because of that. But there's, a few porcelains that are really approachable. It's good to know about Cumulus. Coda by Kentucky Mudworks is another really approachable one. I love Coda. And I've tried Cumulus. I also enjoyed it as well. I haven't seen it thoroughly fired, but I did see your test tiles, and they look great.
Oh, thank you. I really like the Magnolia porcelain too. It's cone 7, cone 10 from Kentucky Mudworks, but for a higher fire porcelain clay.
Yeah.
That's been really nice. And it also is one of those that throws more like a stoneware would feel, or it doesn't just like, it has more, I guess not, I want to say tooth, but you can't really feel it. Mm-hmm. It's still smooth, but it doesn't get soupy when you throw it. If you add water to it, it's not just going to like fall over. It has a nice support to it.
Well, and one of the things I love about those two porcelains too is that the tendency to crack or reject joins, like handles or any attachments, is not as great as some other porcelains I've tried. So,
Right.
yeah,
That's true. I think at one point in time I had 8 different porcelain bodies in my studio.
man,
So yeah, I really liked the Magnolia and the Cumulus so far out of if I'm going to pick a mid fire and a high fire.
okay,
So, oh, I
very
also
cool.
like Coleman porcelain. Coleman is really nice. Those are
I
my
haven't had
3.
the chance to try it yet.
I really like it. If you do any soda, like soda, I almost said salt, but soda firings,
Sure,
out at Clay King. Sorry, if you do
you know
any,
that one place.
yeah, if you do any soda firings at Clay King, I think you would really like the cumulus or the not the cumulus, sorry, the Coleman porcelain. So all of them begin with a C. I feel like all of the different porcelain clays that I'm thinking of, I'm like, oh man, oh. But I guess we could just go dig up our own clay if we really have to.
Have you ever?
I have. I have 3 different clay bodies that I've dug up. I have 2 from South Carolina and 1 from Tennessee.
Very
And
cool.
yes, I got permission from the land I was in
Oh, that's good. It's always good to
because
ask.
that's important. That you need that. But also, that's a whole nother thing in of itself. But it is really fun. It's fun to experiment, and some people get lucky where they can dig up clay and use it just as it is. But I had to add some temper, add some sand into my clay that I dug up. So
Now, I have dug up clay and I've refined clay, but I've never used the clay that I've dug up or refined. And so I feel like that is a chink that is missing from my ceramic experience that I would like to fix.
do
So,
it. You just dig a hole in your yard for firing it to test it out.
there's been a creator on TikTok that I've really enjoyed watching, and he said he didn't have a good way to recycle his clay, so he dug a hole in his yard and just started dumping all of his clay there. And then he's been going back and digging it up again and using it after it just kind of like, melds together.
Yeah, it
And
sits for a little bit.
that's been something I've been considering is I could dig a hole and dump all my reclaim.
You could absolutely dig a hole, put like a piece of canvas down or something, so you don't have to clean the dirt out of it or anything.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, and then just the water and everything will leak down over time. I feel like if it would rain, though, all the finer parts of the clay are going to wash away with it. So you would
Yeah, that's true.
probably have to add in something to keep it
Yeah,
a little more plastic.
throwing water.
Yeah, there you go. I do. With some of my clay bodies, though, I go to save my throwing water, and I feel like it's just accumulated at the bottom in just a hard chunk.
Sure. Well,
And
that's all those fine particles.
it's all those fine particles, but I'm just like, oh man, like it just the way it doesn't really mix in. Even when I blend in, it doesn't mix back in very well. Maybe it's just me, but I've had that problem with some of my clays.
I wanted to gaslight you for a second and say like it's definitely just you, but
It is
I'm not
gaslight.
gonna do that.
That's fine. Gaslight me. Well, it is one specific clay body that I use often that I don't want to mention because like I don't want to like sound like I'm throwing them under the bus.
Yeah.
But when I do that with my porcelain, it will settle, but it still mixes in. But with this clay body in particular, it's weird because it will just. I swear I mix it in the same way I do all my other clays. And then when I'm wedging it, there's just like these dry, hard chunks in there, and I'm like, what am I doing wrong? But I do the same thing. I gaslight myself. I'm like, I am the problem.
You're crazy, Julie. You're
I'm
crazy.
crazy. Hey, I'm not crazy. I'm creative.
There you go.
I'm also a little crazy. It's fine.
That's right. We all are.
It's fine.
And
But
I'm just kidding.
it does too in talking about trying to source out different materials. It makes it difficult if you're reliant on clay bodies and glazes because I know there was such an uproar when ancient copper went away for a little while and then changed. And it's still good.
Sure.
But when glazes like that change, especially if that's kind of almost like your signature thing that you rely on, if your work relies on something specific, it can be so difficult. But then also trying to consider the pricing, not just the accessibility of the materials we're looking for, but if you're trying to be a full-time potter, if you used to buy a bag of clay for $25 and it goes up to 45,
Yeah.
you have to increase your prices.
Yeah, it really is a ripple effect. And I mean, one thing that I have to constantly remind myself of is that potters don't exist in a little vacuum, and that to a lot of these mining companies, the hobbies, or even just ceramics, are such a small percentage of what these materials are being used for in this game of what they're like. If the raw material, like what percentage of that goes to like hobby potters, like it is fractions of a percentage.
Yeah.
Like lithium, for example, like
Oh gosh.
I mean, that's exploded in price, but it's a powerful fluxing agent. It's something that
Mm-hmm.
has become a high commodity because it has so many other use cases that are more valuable than a fluxing agent.
Oh
Um,
yeah, absolutely.
so we are a part of a vast ecosystem of raw materials that are a part of other industries, and we're just one piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, absolutely. And we could reclaim better than I do, please, and recycle our clay more effectively and efficiently. Same thing with glazes. We could, come up with an alternative to glaze recipes if there's something you really like to use and either you can't get it or all of a sudden it went away because of one reason or another. You can go to glazy.org and check
Yeah.
out some recipes. I will probably do some sort of follow-up video on how to make glazes. I think that's also, I don't want to say lacking in terms of education for beginning potters, but I think that's something that people are also a little hesitant on. But to
Oh,
me, when
sure.
I explain it, I'm like, oh, it's like baking a cake, right? You just put all your ingredients together. But it's kind of true. It's chemistry. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, you can follow the recipe, and instead of a 350-degree oven for 45 minutes, it's a 2200-degree oven for 12 hours. And
Yeah.
instead of nice, fluffy goodness, you get hard, glassy.
Goodness.
Yeah,
It's just a different type of goodness, just not edible.
yeah,
Hopefully, if you make it for food, it's food safe. So,
that's right. So,
um,
what do you do when you can't get something that you used to rely on? Do you have a process, or is it just kind of
my
iterative?
my process for, say, like the little loafers, for example, it has been going to different clay companies and just seeing what type of clays are close that I can try.
Yeah,
I especially love that I can go to Clay King and get 4-pound samples and
that's
try
great.
different types of clay bodies. So that's been great. But really, it's just that I just try different clay bodies and test them out. And I haven't been completely 100% satisfied with something as an alternative. So right now, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I mix my own clays, or I've mixed my own clays before, and I mix my own glazes currently. But why don't I just try a couple different tests for my own clay body and see
Yeah.
what I like?
Have you found anything that you do?
I have not.
Okay.
I've only done a few, and when I say few, I literally have done 2 tests, and I'm like, this is fine, but also I don't think I'm going to be able to completely replace. So I'm going to have to challenge myself to not be so picky, for lack of a better phrase.
Yeah.
I'm just going to have to let myself be a little bit more creative and embracing the changes that are happening right now in a more positive way and just say, okay, well, this I won't have this again, but what can I do as an alternative? And maybe I come up with my own Julie clay that I love. Who knows?
I could see that being a good name for a clay.
Yeah. But oh, what about you? Have you
I
found some
probably
alternatives you really like?
I probably should have a more refined process. It's really what's available, like you said. That's as
Mm,
close to what I had, and I mean, affordability is definitely a factor, but the it's mostly like what looks right and what feels right. I probably should test more than I do. I make lots of mistakes by not testing, but
It's
to
part of the
some,
process.
yeah, I just go like, all right, let's slap it on 6 mugs. It'll be fine. It'll be
I'll be
fine.
fine.
I
You don't need
definitely
a
should
test
test more.
tile.
Well, I do have test tiles, so we will
There you
more
go.
than often not commit a new glaze or a new clay to a very large production run without some level of sampling or trying out. So whether it's throwing one piece or spending an afternoon throwing a handful of different pieces, and as far as clay is concerned, like when we got the mammoth clays in for Clay King, I may have seen some of the videos of like, all right, we're going to test all of these clays, and we sat down and we throw flower pots out of them all, and that's just like one part of the puzzle of figuring out what feels good, what looks right, and what's available, um, and then being open to change, because I could labor on about something not being available, where I could adapt. And I think as potters, adaptability and being resourceful is one of our strong suits.
Absolutely. And I do think you have a good point there too, testing out in the way you said it made me think, oh, testing out a new clay body the same way you would use it in the studio.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
even just making a few extra pieces out of the new clay and then testing it, showing it next to some of your work with the original clay you had, and saying, what do I like, what do I don't like, pros and cons.
Yeah. I
So
mean, because the reality of the situation is this has happened before. It'll happen
mhm.
again. Mine shut down, things go away, and we have to deal with it.
Yep.
It's not like we're going to stop potting or gripe and moan forever because there's no more speckled brownstone. Um,
Just watch me flip my wheel over and walk
yeah,
away. No.
right. I mean, the reality of the situation is it's happened before. It'll happen again. We have to figure out how to deal with it, and that's
Absolutely.
where what potters are good at.
Yeah.
Um,
We're
I mean, there's
adaptable.
yeah, tough.
So
Yeah.
we got this. Yeah. Yeah. We sit here like, yeah.
I mean, there's definitely a sense of, I don't want to say fear, because at the end of the day, like ceramics feels like it's so low stakes compared to what's happening in the world. Like, I don't want to say like fear, but there is anxiety around things not being readily available. And like, yeah, we hear from customers on the back end of the side, or you see the conversations on social media of like, I don't know what I'm going to do. But the reality is there are plenty of substitutes. And if you have resources like Glazy, or a clay community that you can tap into, even if it's just books, like we've talked about, like having
Oh
a
yeah.
just accessible substitutes.
Yeah.
So whenever things like that happen, we'll, at least from a clay king perspective, we'll try to share like, oh, here's some alternatives. Like this is what you're used to. Here's what you can get close with, or here's what might be better. And the truth is, there probably is a lot better options or substitutes that are just fine.
Yeah. Or even in experimenting, that's where I've happened upon some of my, best results.
Yeah.
I have no idea that this was something that I now have available to me, that I could have had available to me had I just pushed outside of my comfort zone in the first place, and not out of because I had not because I had to, but because I wanted to. So hopefully it'll inspire people to, it'll encourage them to want to navigate this challenge in a more positive way and experiment with things and play and push yourself outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah, I
Who
hope so.
knows?
Because that is where growth options and potential is. So,
Absolutely. And I think that's fun. That's the fun part about being a creative, is that sure, we really like what we like, but there's so much out there. Like you said, things are constantly changing. People are going to come up with new clay bodies and new glazes, and we're always going to be like, "Ooh, look at this." And, so having the opportunity to really push our creative selves is the pro to looking at the situation.
yeah, I agree. Has there ever been an instance where something quickly became unavailable and you had to quickly overcome, like
Um,
whether to meet a deadline, fill an order, or
I mean, I think I've come close to running out of a clay body, and I couldn't source it because they were like on back order with it, and it was going to be about a month or two before they could get it to me. And I ended up just going with a few. I tried out same thing. I tried out a few alternative clays, and I also reached out to people and said, "Hey, it's going to look a little different." But then, yeah, it came out. It came out looking great, and then that became my new clay body.
Nice.
So yeah, I didn't know
Yeah.
that would happen. I was like, "Oh well, look at this."
There we go.
So, and they were like, "Oh, I like this a lot better," and now that's what I use too, just for me because I also like how it throws. I like how it handles. Yeah.
Yeah. Similarly, I used to rely on lithium a lot for glaze making,
Mm-hmm.
and it just became so costly that as we were trying to grow the business and like looking at what the cost into what it like the production cost of things, it's like, man, this like 6% of lithium is it's like $100 in
Yeah.
a bucket. I'm like, this is really becoming prohibitive. Um, Being able to like utilize sources like Glazy to find substitutes. Spodumene was at the time. I think that even that has gone up since, but spodumene was a substitute in part for lithium. But it made me look at our recipes again and like exercise that part of my brain that goes like, oh, how do I get this result without this material? And in the end, we were able to cut down a lot of costs, get a really similar result, if not better result, um, and it ended up being just fine. But
Yeah.
yeah, it can feel scary and overwhelming in the moment. But looking back on it, I think supply shortages are just an opportunity for us to grow.
Absolutely. And then same thing with the lithium carbonate. I felt the same way where I was like, well, if I'm going to be making all these crystalline glazes, how can I omit using lithium carbonate from them? And it's really pushed me to play with different recipes and again, like you said, use that other part of my brain. But it has been really fun because I've gotten a deeper understanding of glaze chemistry from it.
Yeah, because you're not looking at just what does this one oxide do, but you're looking, oh, what is the chemical structure of this oxide? What's close, and how can I mimic it with something else? And maybe it's a combination. It's not a one for one. Maybe it's a 3 for 1. Subtract this. You know,
Yeah.
it's
If I completely omit this flux, what happens if I do this? Or what if I change the frit? What if I
yeah.
start with a completely new frit? So that's been really fun. At least
Where
for me, that's my idea of fun.
did you have it like if you could give somebody a source for where they could go to start understanding like glaze chemistry in a very approachable way? Like what did you do?
I like John Britt's book. If
Okay.
you're using, he has a mid-fire and he has a high fire. He has, the two books, but his mid-fire glaze book is a good place to start. I always like recommending books to people. And then I can't remember her name for the life of me, her last name for the life of me, but Sue, who does these like free webinar glazes. I'm going to have her on here one time. And she has a beautiful way of explaining them. But John Britt does a lot of free videos on YouTube. So shout out to him. So go to YouTube, check out John Britt, check out his books, but then also just going to glazy.org and looking up different recipes and seeing what you like and even comparing a few there.
Yeah. Do you ever go or have you used Digital Fire, the
I
online
have,
website?
yes. Digital Fire is also great. Tony's awesome.
Yeah, he's a bit more I'd say he uses like maybe some more scientific lingo or like a chemical mind, but the just the resource that website is
It's
really helpful.
amazing.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
incredible.
So glazy.org, Digital Fire, and a Digital Fire, I think .com.
Yeah, something you'd find it.
And the Ceramic Arts Network is also really good.
Yeah, they have a lot of resources
And
and info.
yeah, and it's nice because you can find other potters talking on there too.
Yeah, I took the ceramic materials workshop from Rose and Matt Katz a
Oh,
few years ago,
nice. Yeah.
and that was that was good because I had a monetary buy-in to like force me to say like, okay, I need to figure this out. I am literally invested
Yeah.
beyond just my curiosity. So it was a nice refinement period of being able to like put things in place and hear from like true experts about what glazes are, what they do, and then like all of like the bite-sized testing of how to make what you want for your studio.
Yeah. And I like the way they explain things too. And I took a class from Ian Childers,
Okay.
and I did the crystalline glaze class, and that was really wonderful, and it was really refreshing as well. And then he also gave some great tips on material shortages and how to use alternatives. So, and he's
Yeah.
so excited when he teaches too, and I
Hmm.
just love that. So,
I
but
like it
that's
when
nice.
people's passion.
I'm sorry, what?
Sorry, I just was remarking. I like it when people's passion ekes into their teaching.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's what makes him such a fun potter and instructor as well, as you can see his excitement in the way that he talks about his work. But what's nice too is that we have the resources online. You don't necessarily have to go to a class in person, or they're
Yeah.
readily available. You can just go right into Google and find a workshop, or find something where you can easily access. It's easily accessible online to attend a class. So
Yeah. I love the mode of online learning, being able to learn from where you are.
yeah, and even too, if you don't have a home studio space, if you're currently sharing a studio space with someone, or if you're in a community studio, that doesn't mean that you can't set up I say safe place, but obviously considering venting and wearing a mask and all that if you're going to experiment with glazes at home. But nothing's stopping you from making your own glazes at home. You
Yeah.
can make your own stuff, and as long as it's something that can be fired in the studio that you're at, if you're at a community studio, if they did go to cone 6, make sure that's what you do. And always put some sort of catch pan with, literally it just looks like a little bowl though, right, around the bottom of like a test piece, or a I like to take a chunk of soft brick and put kiln wash on it for new pieces.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
So
That's probably really smart. Have some kind of
protect your
catch.
shelves, guys.
They're expensive.
They're expensive. Sometimes we forget, and I understand that happens. Accidents happen. But if you're testing something new, you have all the opportunities to put something underneath a piece
Yeah.
so that it doesn't leak all over the place, doesn't run all over the place on your kiln
Words of
shelf.
wisdom.
Yeah. No, definitely speaking from experience when I say
Yeah.
that too. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I've ruined a many kiln shelf in my day.
What good potter hasn't?
Good Potter has it. Always have extra kiln shelves as well.
We should get you to make Potter fortune cookies. Just download all of these little bits of wisdom.
Use a cookie. I tell people too when they're like, I've always wanted to try ceramics and do a pottery class. I'm like, come to the dark side. We have cookies. You put them under your pieces so they don't ruin your shelves.
Nice. Coming back to the baking metaphors.
Yes, absolutely. It's all chemistry. It really is. Some of the
But
best chemists I know, or some of the best bakers I know, are chemists.
sure, because it really is.
Yeah.
And I think like in a lot of ways that can feel encouraging for the people who want to go down the glaze chemistry rabbit hole. But on the alternate side of the coin is, for many years I believed like I have to make my own glazes to be like a real potter. Quote, I'm using quotes. Um, the good news is that there's the clay companies who make the glazes that a lot of people use, like have make those accessible because they know that glaze chemistry is a daunting subject to tackle, and they have hired the people who are experts in glaze chemists and understand thermodynamics and how it interacts with all the glaze oxides that you use. So yeah, that was a limiting belief on my part, is that I had to know glaze chemistry to be a good potter. And yes, it does add depth and understanding, which is always helpful, but it's not what you have to do. And there are many different bottled or powdered glazes that are already pre-mixed that have really wonderful results that can create unique surfaces that you can modify in your own creative ways by firing schedules or layering. And that is a viable path to be able to create things.
I really like using store-bought glazes. I mean,
Yeah.
it really is just nice to not have to go into my studio and spend 2 hours mixing and filtering and yeah.
Then you get the nice like mask lines.
Oh, the mask lines. Yeah, I have that one of those giant ones that looks like I look like a praying mantis with the big filters on the side.
Nice.
Oh man. Well, this is definitely inspiring me to want to continue to try making my own clay bodies though.
I think you should. I'm excited to see what you come up with, and happy to test the next Julie clay that
Julie clay, yes.
meets your standards.
I think I'm just going to have to let go of some of my standards though in a way.
Yeah.
Let go of my past standards of like comparing. Comparison is the thief of joy. So I'm going to have to stop comparing to old clay bodies and not limit myself and open my mind to new opportunities of what I can create.
You put that in your next fortune cookie.
Well, I'll make ceramic fortune cookies that no one can open. And they'll be like, but wait a minute, how do I get the fortune inside?
You know, they say there's nothing new under the sun, but I did see an artist who made like thousands of porcelain, like folded. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But he left a little gap though. I'm like, what if I just close the whole thing? And I'm like, there's something inside, but then there's nothing inside. That'd be a really fun way to mess with people, I think.
It's all about gaslighting.
Yeah. This is now toxic. Toxic TV podcast.
So we've covered gaslighting each other, and what was the other thing? Never mind, it's gone.
I don't know. Oh, well, the shortages will continue. We will find some sort of sustainability for even just a little while, but as you've said, things will continue to change. So local sources would be great, but that's not always an option.
Yep.
Hopefully it will help encourage everyone in the community to try something new and push outside of their comfort zone. And of course, you always have your ceramic community to lean on, or at least, vent to.
Yeah. Well, and lean on and vent to. I think there's a place for both.
There's always a place for both. So, but in the meantime, I wish you the best of luck with finding a alternative to some of your clay bodies that you've used for quite some time.
Thanks. Same. And I hope your clay tests continue to go well.
Thank you. We'll see how it goes. If all else fails, I can just throw it in the yard.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. If all else fails, I don't know. I turn them into cookies.
There you go.
They can become my catch pans.
And put them to use.
Yep.
For something.
They're just going to wind up in the trash, and that's fine. Good for something. No waste here. Waste not, want not.
I love it. You keep riffing on these fortune cookie inserts. That was another one.
Absolutely will. Oh. Anyway, well, we will try to get some so I'm going to try and get some sleep. Oh my gosh. I hope I dream about a good glaze recipe or a good clay recipe. No. Well, what are we going to do for our next episode? I'm going to edit this part out.
Oh. Well, I mean, maybe we don't have to. Maybe whoever's listening, if you have an idea for our next episode, please let us know. Otherwise, we could...
anyone who has an idea for our next episode, please send out your emails. That would be great.
One topic that seems to be top of mind for potters at the moment, at least just what I'm seeing on social media, is can you make a living selling a $45 mug? So we could go into a little bit more like granular detail of what it takes to make a living as a potter, and that could be, if not next episode, a future episode.
I mean, we are both two potters who, in speaking in terms of that way, we only sell our work.
Yeah. We
don't teach, we don't do anything else. We sell our work full time, and we make a living.
Yeah.
So it's doable.
Challenging? Yes.
It's challenging, yes. But doable.
Yes.
So I am more than happy to share a lot of what I've learned over the years. So, and I know you are too.
I love that. Okay. Well, if not that, then something else. And again, please feel welcome to email us questions and topics that you want covered. I think the email address is studiosessionsclay@gmail.com.
Yes.
And people can find you where?
They can find me on Busy Daydreams or at Busy Daydreams Pottery on Instagram.
Perfect. And I'm Donovan Pottery on Instagram as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Will. I really appreciated your time and your insight and your experience as always. Thank you for sharing.
Likewise. I mean it very much.
All right, you have a good one. We'll talk to you all later. Thank you for listening in.
Okay, and we'll see you next time.
All right, bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of Studio Sessions, a Pottery Podcast. You can find us on Instagram. Will is Donovan Pottery, and I'm Busy Daydreams Pottery. For questions or episode ideas, please reach out to us at studiosessionsclay@gmail.com. We're working to make this podcast more accessible, especially for those with hearing disabilities. Moving forward, episodes will be available with video and full transcriptions on the Matham House Studios YouTube channel. Some episodes may include visual elements, so for the full experience, be sure to watch us on YouTube. Please note that some content may not appear on platforms like Spotify due to these visuals. Take care, and as always, happy creating.